last thing we got to do is we need to put some trim pieces over top of the shelves to cover up the joints for these dados. You could go without the trim pieces to cover that up if you have really nice looking joints, but a lot of times, even if you have a good looking joint there, you would still like to dress it up a little bit with some nice looking trim pieces. So we can do this a couple of different ways. The way we're going to do it this time is we're going to actually come over here to the parts browser and we're going to click to hide the top, and then I am going to come over to sketch from the top of the shelf. So we're going to place a sketch plane on the top of the shelf with the top itself actually hidden. So now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to use this project use button, and I'm going to use these corner pieces here, and I'm going to be drawing one trim piece on the bottom right here, and then as you probably guessed by now, I'm going to mirror the other. Well, I'm going to mirror one. I guess I'll actually have to draw two in this case. So anyway, I started by using the use, and I used these corners right here, and I'm going to not click on this, but I'm going to come and hover over this corner, and I'm just going to kind of hover over to the side, and you can see it's tracking that point, and I'm going to start a rectangle, and then that rectangle I want to make sure that I make it a 1/2 inch thick, or in this case tall, and I'm going to kind of ignore the length for now. So now I'm going to come up and I'm going to use the dimension tool, and I want to dimension the end of that trim piece to the end of my leg, and I'm going to make it a 1/2 inch out beyond it. I could have also made this 15 inches long when I had the chance to dimension the length of the rectangle, but ultimately I want them to stick out a 1/2 inch each because it's a 1/2 inch thick. Usually we go kind of thin with the trim pieces here. So these are the overall dimensions. Now I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm going to draw a 45-degree angle from the outer corner of that leg to the outer corner of the rectangle that I just drew. That's all we should need for our sketch. I'm going to then choose extrude, and I'm just going to choose that part with the 45s right there, and we're going to make this 1.5 inches. And I want it to go the opposite direction so that it's flush with the top of the shelf and sticking down below and covering up those joints. Just to dress it up a little bit, I typically will put a fillet on here, and you can choose some other cutter head options when we route this. But a 3/8 inch radius or a 1/4 inch radius, even a 1/2 inch radius is going to look okay in Onshape. I'd say the 3/8 probably looks the best. Alright, once we got that, we can go and do the exact same thing on one of the other sides here. So I'm going to place another sketch, use the use button, get those legs. I'm going to hover over that point right there and draw a rectangle. Actually, let's use this point out here. And we'll try drawing that rectangle again. And now instead of drawing that 45, I could also use it right there. But I can just draw that right there since I have it locked in. Or I can dimension it the same way that I did in the last one, using the dimensioning tool and setting it as a 0.5 offset. I'll draw my line, finish my sketch, and extrude. I'm going to turn it down, make sure it's on new, set it to 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to use the fillet tool here to fillet these two front corners. Once I have two of them drawn on adjacent sides, I can then use the mirror tool. It'll be a part mirror, and I'm going to choose one of those trim pieces, and then the mirror plane that is parallel with it. And then I'm going to do the same thing again with the other trim piece and its corresponding mirror plane. At that point, we have all of the pieces drawn. Again, you can do a decorative cut on the top right here. I'm just going to do a fillet all the way around all four of those sides, and I'm going to come up here to my my project browser, and I'm going to turn off the visibility on those two planes. And if I want, I can change the appearance by clicking on this appearance panel right here on the right hand side, and I can right click on the color of each individual part and change it to the color of the wood or the color of the stain that I want to choose. Or you can just change it to a color that you're happy with, right? So change all of those. You can see the parts that I mirrored. When I change the appearance of one, the part that I mirrored also changes with it. Okay, and you don't have to do that. That just kind of dresses up your drawings when you do them. At this point, you're ready to go into your assembly. And in your assembly, you can insert that Part Studio file, place it in here. And now you're ready to make your exploded assembly for your drawing sheets. Right over here you have your Exploded Views button. And I can click on Add Exploded View. We want to make sure that we have it positioned and oriented the way we want, so it should be on one of your isometric views, preferably the one that shows front, right, and top views all together. And I just click on this corner here to get it oriented right. It's fine to zoom or pan to get it positioned the way you want it. And once you're happy with its positioning and orientation, you can click on any given part, and then you get these three arrows here. Click on the arrow that you want that is in the direction that you want. And once you've moved it, again, you're just moving these enough to get some white space that you can see in between all of the parts. It's basically an assembly diagram. So next thing I'm going to do is this trim piece right here. I'm going to move that out to the side, get that out away from everything. Click the check mark, and then I'm going to choose both of these legs along with that trim piece and move them all together out a little bit further. And after I click the green check mark on a particular move, I can click off of all those objects there and then move on to the next one. I'm going to move that trim piece back. I'm going to kind of do the same thing over here, just the opposite direction that I did on the other side. All right, and that looks pretty good right there for an exploded assembly. At this point, you're ready to start your drawing file. You can come down here, insert a new tab, create a drawing, and we're going to stick with A size. That's your 8.5 by 11 or letter size sheet, and click OK. And I'll put together another video that shows how to lay out the drawings, but we're going to be doing exactly like we did for our previous projects, where you're going to start with an assembled view with some overall dimensions, an exploded assembly, and a bill of materials.